Our guest today, and I have the honor to introduce Laurent Ledoux. Laurent is the president of the executive committee at the Ministry for Mobility and Transport in Belgium. Well, I'd like to start with the first question. What are your priorities today?
I have one top priority. It's very simple. It's to create an environment in which the people working in these organizations are ready, willing and able to take initiatives. It's very simple, but that's a big, big change.
Do you think this is unique as a priority?
No, I don't think it's unique, definitely not, but in an administration, typically, probably what is lacking most is the willingness and the readiness and the ability to take initiatives. And it's very important because, especially in our field of mobility, things are changing tremendously outside the ministry. And we need to be on top of the game, let's say, to be proactive in order to change legislations or to propose the way to change legislations. And this can only happen if the people are not just stuck in legislation, but are proactively thinking, okay, with those new innovations, how can we adapt norms, regulations, in order to facilitate the deployment of those innovations to make mobility better for all society.
That's interesting. And are you particularly focusing on certain approaches?
Yes. To put it again very simply, I want to bring this organization to life.
Brilliant.
Basically, the way an administration typically functions is very rigid, with a pyramidal hierarchy, with very rigid processes and so on. This makes this organization, like many other administrations, very, very difficult to react to external changes. I want, on the contrary, to loosen up all this so that people at their own level feel ready and willing to make the necessary change. So that it's like a body, you know, it's not only the top, the brain who commands, but the whole body. Basically, there are brains all over our bodies, or each part of our body is connected directly to the brain and can react very quickly. Well, that's exactly what I would like this organization to become, a living organization.
What a beautiful metaphor indeed. And so what do you see as your opportunities, actually, considering what you just mentioned?
The biggest opportunity is precisely that mubility and therefore transport is becoming so important.
Mm-hmm.
Here in Brussels,
Mm-hmm.
basically it's the number one priority for companies. How to improve mobility,
Mm-hmm.
access to Brussels, access to their companies, to clients and so on. So it's an opportunity for us to change, to be more proactive,
Mm-hmm.
because there is a real demand
Mm-hmm.
on our services.
Mm-hmm. So how do you see your role as a leader?
My role as a leader is basically the one of mobilizing people. So it's more important for me, I think, to be than to do. It may sound peculiar, but of course I take decisions all day, I'm in meeting with people, but I think more important than that is the energy, the positive energy I can radiate, and at the same time the calmness. And if I can radiate both energy and calm, I think this will help this organization be more proactive, more dynamic, as I just mentioned before.
Do you see a first response so far?
Definitely. I mean, you can see it if you go around this place. I mean, not only we are changing totally the building, have changed dramatically the board of directors, the executive committee, and all over you can see people really taking initiatives. And I think really generates a positive energy all across the ministry right now.
What have you been looking for in your board?
Typically, these are people, I believe, who are motivated by results. They want to see results, but who are also very motivated by people, by the quality of the personal development of their people, respecting them, giving them autonomy. So there are people also who want the result, but not by controlling everything. On the contrary, of letting go as much as possible, which doesn't mean that you don't do anything. On the contrary, but you don't pretend, as many managers do, to want to control it, right? To give energy to people for them to do things rather than controlling what they do.
Now, I've got one last question. What is your perspective of the future in your field?
Oh, well, I mean, mobility is a field which is changing tremendously. So, as I said, there are many opportunities, there will be many changes. But I think fundamentally, we need to reconsider our attachment to some symbols. For example, ownership of cars. Does that make sense? What we want is not so much cars, but the capacity to go easily, without hassle, and fast if possible, but not necessarily from one point to another. And I think really that the concept of mobility is one which typifies our society, but need to evolve dramatically. So I cannot tell you this is the way how I see the future. All I can tell you is that I think that it will not be just a question of legislation, norms, regulations, but also of reconsidering why we want to be mobile, how we want to be mobile. What does that mean?
Of course, you don't say that you want to take away the cars from people. What I think you're saying is that you try to offer an infrastructure that is capable of giving people the opportunity to go from A to B. And that's what you mean.
That's exactly what I mean. Yeah. And also doing that in a socially conscious way, environmentally conscious way, etc. Which is quite important.
Well, Laurent, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it, and à bientôt.
À bientôt.